All right, good. We got the camera working. We got tech working. We got a few more people trying to sign on, but thank you to those of you who have already joined. I see a hand that's gone up, and just a little bit of housekeeping tonight. We have a chat. We also have a place where you can do Q&A. So if you have a question for my team that they can quickly answer, feel free to put that in the put any of those questions into the Q&A, and we will get those answered for you as we go. But I'm going to get started here in just a couple minutes, just to give some more people some time to jump on. But I thank you for joining, and I'll be right back with you shortly. All right. Well, good evening, and thank you for your patience. Welcome to tonight's educational presentation, Savings or Strategies for Saving on and Not Just for College Costs. I am Douglas Hagren. I'll be your host tonight. I'm also president and co-founder of Mergent College Advisors. Tonight, I'm going to be offering you a roadmap that could potentially save your family thousands of dollars on college costs. The strategies we'll discuss are proven, and many families have never been told them about them by their financial advisors, if they work with any, or even a lot of their college counselors. By the end of this presentation, you will be empowered with actionable steps to secure your child's future without compromising your own financial future. Now, let's face some reality here. College costs are higher than ever. And every day that you delay planning could mean more out-of-pocket expenses. Families who don't start early often find themselves with fewer options and higher bills. And we want to ensure that this doesn't happen to you. And this information that we're going to talk about tonight is general in nature, and seeing that everyone's financial situation is complex and different. Due to that, we do offer a complimentary consultation to those who attended tonight, where we can take an adequate amount of time, generally about 30 minutes of one-on-one time to review your specific and individual situation, and we'll further discuss the details of any further consultation later in this workshop. But before I begin, I want you to imagine for a moment the peace of mind you'll feel knowing you have a plan to pay for college and that your child is secure, that you're financially secure, no matter what happens. This is why we are so committed here at Mergent College Advisors around our process, and why we love helping individuals better understand how to navigate the complex and expensive financial obstacle of paying for college. But before we dive in today, would you mind raising your hand for me? Okay. I just want to make sure. Yep. Thank you very much. Want to make sure we're paying attention here and listening, because I'd like to begin by sharing something very personal. I don't want to make this about me, because I'm saying this because I think it helps you understand why this conversation matters and why I care so deeply about helping families like yours. Now, my story starts back in 2000. I was a few years out of college. I was working alongside my dad. Life was moving in a generally good direction. And then completely out of nowhere, I got a call no one ever wants. I lost my father. What I walked into was a nightmare. There was no plan. There was no preparation. It was just chaos. There were debts, taxes, probate, and seemingly endless uncertainty. But what kept me up at night wasn't just the paperwork. It was figuring out how to keep my younger sister in college when the funding was gone. We made it through, thankfully. But what I remember thinking is this should never have happened. Just to give some context, she was actually a freshman in college when he passed away. I'm a few years older than her, about 6 years. That experience shaped everything for me. It's why for over 20 years, I've been helping families avoid the kind of financial stress, disruption, and heartache that mine faced. And today I help parents protect what matters most, whether that's covering college costs, securing retirement, buying a home, building a legacy that lasts. So before we get started, just know that I'm here because this is personal. I'm here because no family should have to sacrifice their future or their children simply because they didn't have the right plan. And my goal for you today is simple. I want to help you avoid costly mistakes and leave here with clarity, confidence, and control over your college funding decisions. Fair enough? So if it's okay with you, as we go along and when we get to talk to you, hopefully in a follow-up conversation, I'd love to hear more about your story, what's most important to you, and what you're hoping to accomplish so that we can then best be in a position to support you from here. So thank you again for letting me share that, and let's get started. So some of what you hear tonight, this is a promise I'm going to make to you, that this may sound familiar. And for others, nearly everything will be brand new. But what I can promise you is this, that every single one will walk away with something new you've never heard before, something that could change the way you think about paying for college and protecting your financial future. So we don't just focus on getting the cost of college down, and that is important. But we also focus on something more critical, how you actually pay for it without putting your lifestyle, retirement, or long-term financial security at risk. Because here's what we believe. Saving enough for college through traditional methods alone is nearly impossible for most families. Even high-income earners feel the pressure. Why? Well, there's forces like inflation, taxes, market risk, liquidity challenges. That's having money when you need it, ready to go, and time. All of these work against you. And when you focus on solving just one piece of the puzzle while ignoring the others, that creates a ripple effect that can quietly erode your financial foundation. And that's the real danger. Making decisions today that unknowingly reduce your future standard of living. It's the constant tug of war between what we want and need right now and what our future selves are counting on us to protect. So what if there's a better way? What if the problem isn't just saving enough, but maybe there's areas where you're losing money in ways you didn't even recognize? What if by simply becoming more efficient with the money you already have that you're earning, you could fund college without sacrificing your lifestyle today or financial security tomorrow? So I'm going to ask you this. If what you believe to be true about saving for college turned out to be not true, when would you want to know? And more importantly, would you be willing to make the changes necessary to protect your family and protect your loved ones? Our promise today is to begin showing you the ways in which to make that possible through strategies and ideas that most families have never been shown before. So if I can make just one small request, raise your hand if you're listening. Please do your best, thank you, to eliminate any distractions and give this your full attention. Because what we're going to cover today has the potential to reshape the way you plan for college and your financial future. Fair enough? All right, we're going to start getting into it. I appreciate the hands that went up there in the focus chat. Because tonight we're going to talk about strategies that can transform the way you approach paying for college. Insights most families have never heard, as I said before, even from the help that they receive, like financial advisors. So by the end of our time together, there's going to be clear, actionable steps to protect your financial future and give the child the education they deserve without draining savings or going into debt. Families who've attended this presentation consistently tell us the same thing. The strategies that they've learned are game-changing. They've lowered their out-of-pocket costs. They've uncovered scholarship opportunities they didn't know existed. They've avoided costly mistakes that would set them back years. And I've spent my career working alongside families like yours, guiding them through complexities of financial aid, college admissions, and most of all, funding strategies. So what I'm sharing here isn't theory. It's real-world proven advice that has helped families save tens of thousands of dollars on college. The reality is waiting too long or making small mistakes in your financial aid forms can end up costing you thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. The earlier you understand these options, the more opportunities you'll have to protect your savings and secure the best possible outcome. Now, you've already made the commitment to give your child every opportunity for success. That's why you're probably here. And tonight I'll show you how to keep that promise without sacrificing lifestyle or putting your long-term financial security at risk. And I'll tell you why this matters to me. Because as I said before, I've been through the maze of college planning myself. I had to do it with my sister. I've experienced firsthand confusion, frustration, expense, and how bad it can be if you don't have the right plan in place. That's why I'm here. So hopefully you don't have to go through the same challenges I did. But again, I want to see a quick show of hands. How many of you are feeling overwhelmed by all the noise, conflicting advice, and endless confusion about applying to and paying for college? Hands after hand. Just like if you're just looking for some straightforward answers tonight, I see you. I see you raising your hands, and I thank you. That's exactly what we're going to do. My goal is simple: to give you clarity, confidence, and real strategies that will navigate this process and protect your financial future. So let's get into it. College is expensive, no way around it. Here's the reality. That 40% of students start out college that actually graduate in 4 years. That means that many families thought they were going to pay for a 4-year college, end up in 6 years of college expense, far more than they originally planned. To make matters worse, over 500 colleges now cost more than $50,000 a year. By the way, that's for one child. So it's no surprise that according to a 2023 Discover study, 70% of parents with college-bound children are actually worried about how to pay for it. And college funding has become the #1 concern for most families of children under 18, even more than retirement. So if you're stressed or overwhelmed, know this: you're absolutely not alone. And the good news is we're going to unpack exactly how to manage rising costs without sacrificing your financial future. But what most families don't realize is that ignoring college planning might be the single greatest threat to your retirement. A Forbes article revealed that many financial advisors aren't equipped to guide you through college costs, financial aid, or tax-efficient funding strategies. That knowledge gap is costing families big time. Consider this: for the last 20 years, the percentage of higher income families taking out student loans doubled. Even affluent households draining savings and retirement accounts to cover education expenses. That puts their future lifestyle and legacy at risk. And it's not just the financial impact. There's studies by the Journal of Financial Planning, the American Psychological Association, have shown how those pressures have created lasting stress, disrupted estate plans, jeopardized long-term security. So I'm going to ask you, has your financial plan accounted for this? If not, think for a second. Why? And what would it mean to you if it hasn't? What help have you received in what truly matters? Because the truth is, no parent wants to face the moment where they have to tell their child college isn't an option, or realize too late that funding their dream meant sacrificing their own future. So we're going to get into strategies that talk about that. And the biggest challenge that families are facing is that college is one of the most emotional decisions that parents face. They want the best for their children. They make huge financial sacrifices every day to secure their future, sometimes at the cost of their own. As I said, high-income families are not immune. While they may have more resources, they often are paying for more top schools and juggle higher lifestyle costs, all from the same finite pool of money. So without a clear strategic plan, they risk undermining long-term financial security. So the question is, can parents successfully fund retirement or college and protect their retirement? Or will they be forced to choose the expensive one versus the other? So let's take a moment to consider the real cost of college, not just today, but years from now. If you spend $100,000 for a four-year college education, that would be $25,000 a year, about $2,000 a month. Imagine instead if that money could have just been invested for retirement. That first 25,000 alone could grow for about 14 years, and then for the next 13, and so on. And by retirement, the difference is significant. The hidden cost for most families that most families overlook is that every dollar spent on college is a dollar that is no longer growing for your future. So even if you feel financially comfortable now, funding college without a strategic plan can quietly erode retirement. And that forces facing tough decisions later. So the solution is create a smart, efficient plan that protects both the child's education and your financial future now. Because if you look at the numbers on here, this could easily be $250,000 to $1 million of difference in your financial future. That's a lot of money. I don't know about you, but that's a lot of money. That's what I think. And I'm sure you feel the same. So it's not just about saving for college, it's about saving on college. And there is no one size fits all solution. There's so much information out there that is generic. It just says, do this and you'll be fine. But every family's situation is different. Navigating a complex world of admissions, financial aid, and funding requires a customized strategy. With the right plan in place, you can reduce costs. You can avoid mistakes. You can protect your child's future and your own financial security. But the key is knowing how to make the system work for you, not against you. So I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to discuss a few basics, terms that you need to know to understand before you get into anything in this process. If you have a pen, which I recommend, grab it right now and write this down. There are three crucial terms you need to understand. Cost of attendance, SAI, which means Student Aid Index, formerly EFC or Expected Family Contribution, and Demonstrated Need. The cost of attendance, that's the total cost of attending a college. It's not just tuition. It includes the room and board and fees and books and expenses. The SAI or EFC is the amount that colleges will assign you, usually based off FAFSA, that represents the amount of the government estimates your family can afford to contribute out of college costs. And here's a hint, it's usually much higher than families feel that they have. And demonstrated need is the difference between cost of attendance and your SAI. That's the amount colleges might consider helping in determining eligibility for financial aid. Finally, the most important is net cost. This is the amount you'll actually pay for financial aids and scholarships. And remember, schools out there do require the FAFSA, but some may also require a secondary form called the CSS profile, which I'll get into. I'm going to talk about that SAI first. Okay. Financial need is calculated with a simple formula. Cost of attendance minus Student Aid Index equals financial need. And as I mentioned before, this is going to be how they determine if they're going to give you financial aid based on your financial situation. It's predominantly your income and liquid assets of the parent and the student. In short, it's the minimum amount your family is expected to pay before need-based financial aid kicks in. The number comes from the financial details you provide on forms like FAFSA and the CSS profile that many private schools ask for. And understanding how it works is crucial. You can't go into this process if you don't understand what your SAI is. Think of it like a credit score. The more you know, the better you can position your family to maximize financial aid and minimize out-of-pocket costs. Now, going forward, we're going to use the SAI terminology, and we're going to use that in this example for both public or private schools that require FAFSA only. Again, the private schools may still use the term EFC, but we're going to keep it simple today, and we're just going to use SAI. So it's a starting point, and I'm going to show you how it works with two real-world examples. First, let's just take a public university. We're going to start with that cost of attendance, and that cost of attendance is going to be basically, in this case, $16,000. Well, I'm sorry, the cost of attendance here would be $22,000. Okay. Then we're going to subtract the SAI, which in this case was $15,000, calculate on income, assets, et cetera, and how many kids you have in college to a private school, but not to a public school. And that gives you financial need. And the financial need is then going to be based off of the amount that they are going to look at to determine how much aid you're eligible for. And in this case, the financial aid package included just a loan. And that ultimately made the family have to come up with a small gap of $1,500. So to find the family's actual cost, we actually have to take the SAI of $15,000 plus the gap, which totaled $16,500 out of pocket. So now what we're going to do, this is a public school. Okay, so it was $22,000 to cost, but at final cost to the family is going to be about $16,500. If we take a private school, and you can see here that this private school has a $60,000 cost of attendance. And in this case, keeping it simple, the SAI is the same, so still $15,000, but that creates a demonstrated need of $45,000. And this school in this example is one of a rare number of schools that give what's called 100% need met. That means they fully cover it with grants, scholarships, there's no loans, no gap. So what's the total out-of-pocket cost for this example? It's actually only going to be $15,000 because there was no gap to be added back in. So while this is an important note, while private colleges often look more expensive on paper, many offer more significant aid, sometimes making them just as affordable or even cheaper than public schools. So make sure that you are expanding your list and not just including public schools because it feels like they might be cheaper. And as you can see here, that the actual cost of the family was less in this example, and this does happen to a lot of families. And why does this happen? Well, number one, private colleges have to deal with competition. So they're going to use money as a way to attract students that might otherwise choose lower cost state schools. They need to stay competitive, so they will offer generous financial aid to make attendance more affordable. Secondly, private schools have endowments, so they don't just rely on government funding, they get donations. Those endowments allow them to be able to award need-based and merit aid more flexibly. Financial aid bidding wars occur, so private schools will actually compete with each other for top students, increasing aid offers, sometimes matching or beating other schools, because here's the thing, they're private, and being private, they only stay in business if they have students, so they will work to fill empty seats with the students they want. The bottom line you need to know is that a high sticker price is not a reason to exclude the school. It does not always mean a higher cost. In many cases, private colleges use resources to make attendance more flexible. So now we're going to talk about tips for actually reducing your cost. Number one is to understand what the financial aid officer's job is to do. Their job is to protect the assets of the college and to give away as little money as possible. A lot of families want to talk to schools and try to get them to guide them, and they're helpful. But understand your job is to use the rules of financial aid and make contributions to college as small as possible. The financial aid office is not there to give you the best deal. They are there to protect the school. And that's why understanding the systems and applying the rules strategically is essential. The better the strategy, the less you're going to pay out of pocket. So what are some of the keys to getting a discount? Let's walk through them. First of all, you want to make sure that your child is in the top 25 percentile or 20 percentile of applicants. Okay. They are going to be looking for competitive students, and they're going to compete for these students, and they're going to compete for the top ones. You're going to want to look at schools ahead of time to find out if your student is in that top 20%, if getting more money matters to you. You want to include buyer schools in your college list. These are the ones that are actually going to compete for students. They need to fill seats. Therefore, they buy students by actively using scholarships. You want to expand your universe. You want to make sure that you are going to go beyond search radius and look for beyond your region, look for geographic diversity, because many schools will offer additional scholarships to attract students from outside their typical talent pool. You want to be able to create competition and leverage. You're going to want to be able to, use that leverage by applying to more schools, especially those buyer schools, because that's going to give you more opportunities to generate competing offers that can then become negotiation tools with your preferred school, giving you the power to ask for a better deal. The other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you complete those financial aid forms. A lot of families do not say, well, I make too much. The financial aid forms are going to be critical, and many schools will not give any financial aid if you do not fill out these forms. And they want to make sure they understand what you have. They will make determinations for merit aid and such and need-based aid based on knowing what your financial circumstances are. So the sooner you complete these forms, the better of chances of financial aid you're going to receive. So now I want you to grab your pens again and write this down. The 3 main ways families actually pay for college. And this may seem, a little bit, simplistic, but there's free money, there's cheap money, and then there's family resources, which includes loans. So you want to maximize free money. That's the grants and need-based aid or merit aid that's tied directly to your student aid index and should focus on all legal and ethical ways to reduce your SAI to increase eligibility. Here's the good news. You have more control over your SAI than you probably realize, sometimes significant control. You also want to unlock merit scholarships. Most families leave money on the table because they don't know how to look or qualify. It isn't just for perfect students. Many families qualify and don't even know it. Ultimately, you also want to minimize your need for loans. That doesn't mean loans can't be used strategically. There are reasons to use them through leverage, but needing them means you don't have enough money, and every dollar you save in loans is a dollar that doesn't gather interest and compound into unnecessary debt. So smart planning helps close the gap between college cost and what aid provides, helping you to protect your financial future while funding your child's education. And timing is everything. Okay, once you submit FAFSA or the CSS profile, your ability to increase financial aid eligibility by lowering the SAI index becomes extremely limited. Okay, so you want to plan for financial aid before you file. You don't want to try to plan for it after you've given the schools all the information. So what are the keys before you submit? Know what's required. Identify exactly what forms each school requires. Missing one could mean missing aid. Understand your SAI and how it's calculated. Become clear on income and assets that count, how they impact your eligibility. I'm going to show you a few examples later. The better you understand this part, critical, the better you can plan. And then plan ahead strategically. Before you file, take steps to align your finances in ways that both protect retirement and legally reduce SAI. When done early, they can help you qualify for more aid and reduce financial strain on your family. Another list I want you to write down is the 5 strategies for maximizing financial aid eligibility. Okay, number 1, be careful with asset classification. You cannot just relabel a savings account as retirement to hide it from financial aid formulas. The rules are strict. Misclassifying can cost you big time. Number 2, strategic spending. If you're thinking about making a major purchase like a home improvement or necessary big ticket item, might be the ideal time to spend down accessible cash, which could reduce financial aid availability. Maximize home equity. So for schools using the CSS profile, home equity may count against you. Paying it down strategically could help, but every school treats it differently. This is where professional guidance makes a big difference, because that may not be your best financial planning strategy, because it does reduce liquidity and access to capital. Another strategy, leverage cash value life insurance. Some people love it, some people hate it, people know different things, but the reality is the more you know about it, this is one area that can be helpful in maximizing your financial aid, because cash value life insurance policies aren't counted in any financial aid calculation. It can also later be used for college costs that will allow you to be able to keep assets working for you. Just be careful how you do those withdrawals. This is something you definitely want professional guidance. Annuities can be helpful in paying cash flow, but understand that they can create taxes. If you're not fully understanding about how those work, but by understanding any of these strategies and applying them at the right time, this is where help matters. You can protect assets, maximize financial aid eligibility, and reduce the amount you pay for colleges. And here's a surprising fact. Gifting money to a child, that can actually help hurt financial aid eligibility. So let's say grandparents give $15,000 to help with tuition. Sounds great. In the eyes of the formulas, that's considered a gift to the student's assets, which are heavily weighted. And that could result in thousands of dollars lost. So a better strategy, instead of gifting money now, consider waiting till after graduation to help pay off student loans. That avoids impacting financial aid and still supports their education without hidden financial penalties. When it comes to financial aid, what you don't know can cost you. So the more strategic your plan, the more you're going to save. Now, relying on financial aid often leaves families at the mercy of the school's decision. So before you implement before you go, it's going to be important to implement smart strategic planning that can often save you more out of pocket than financial aid ever could by gaining more valuable predictability and control. Unlike financial aid packages, which can change year to year, a strategy that you put in place ahead of time puts you in charge, and that can help protect savings and secure a financial future. So what about savings for college? Okay, the right strategy is going to put flexibility first. Okay, things like growth potential, tax advantages, liquidity, and most important, flexibility are all key benefits that should be considered. And now, why 529s are very popular, but understand they're not a one-size-fits-all solution. In fact, we've seen many situations where 529s have actually increased total college costs due to limitations on how and when funds can be used and the fact that they change your SAI. So that's why tailoring your strategy to a unique financial picture is so important. The best results are going to come from a broader range of accumulation options, not just defaulting to a 529. And again, that's why having a conversation with us can be so valuable, because we can look at preparing, customizing, creating the most efficient plan for your family. Now, here's another reason to take out your pen. I'm going to give you some incredibly important mistakes to avoid. And I'm going to go through these a little bit fast for time. Okay. The first mistake is assuming you make too much money, their assets are too high. It's one of the biggest things we hear. It's why people don't file FAFSA. But here's the thing, even families earning up to $200,000 may still qualify for need-based aid. And even if you don't qualify, again, merit aid is necessary. FAFSA is necessary to qualify for merit aid in many circumstances. We can explain more about this in a free consultation, but if you look here, here's a family with an adjusted gross income of $290,000, and they had an EFC of $29,500. That means that any school they selected above $29,000 could actually have provided significant financial aid to this family. Any schools in excess with a cost of attendance in excess of $50,000 a year would actually make a significant need-based financial aid opportunity. Second mistake, rushing through the process. The key is don't rush. You want accuracy more than speed. So mistakes on your forms can be expensive. Correcting them is often difficult. Yes, you want to make the deadlines, but make sure it's done correctly first. The third is applying to fewer than 6 schools. If you want to have schools have leverage against each other, we recommend applying to at least 10 schools, including buyer colleges known for giving strong packages, and we can help you build that right list. Mistake 4 is picking the wrong schools. Again, target schools where your student's going to rank in the top 20% of applicants based on GPA and test scores. Why? Because those schools are going to compete for top students, and they're going to offer more grants and scholarships and fewer loans. If they're not in the top 20%, they're less likely to get it. So when your child is in high demand, your wallet's going to benefit. So pick seller schools and pick schools where your student qualifies academically in the top 20%. And don't assume all financial aid is the same. This is a big mistake. Some schools have deep pockets and nearly meet 100% of need. Others, not so much. A lower sticker price does not always mean lower net cost. Knowing what schools offer best aid is important. The six is not knowing the financial aid formulas. Talked about this. They are confusing. What assets and income are counted, what are not counted. If you don't know this, you're going to leave money on the table. And where you keep your money matters. So you want to use those legal and ethical ways to make sure that you get things off. Not applying at all for financial aid. Critical. It's one of the most costly mistakes we see. Too many families skip this, as we said. They miss out on merit scholarships, emergency aid. Okay, you want to make sure you're appealing opportunities for these. A lot of people think this is way too complex and they just don't do anything. You do not want to miss out on opportunities here by not filing. The next one is going to be relying on the school counselor or the CPA or tax preparer. Look, they might suggest you move assets into the child's name, save on taxes. That's going to cost you on financial aid significantly. Little mistakes cost thousands. You know, they might be great at taxes, but college planning is different. I see it every day. What about high school counselors? Look, they are balancing so much today, more than ever. A lot of times their biggest focus now is mental prep. They don't have the time to focus at the level needed. The detailed planning rarely gets the attention it deserves. And unfortunately, that's unlikely to improve anytime soon. And the next one is responding to colleges too soon after they make an offer. Okay, colleges are going to give you an offer, but don't rush to accept. Your best move is to wait till all the offers on the table, then compare packages and use those stronger offers to create leverage. But number 10, whoops, I jumped ahead, is foregoing expert help. Why? Because with expert help, you're going to have the opportunity to be able to be in a position to be supported. If you were being sued for $10,000, would you not go out and get an attorney? Okay. You would actually want an attorney to be able to represent you. But when it comes to a six-figure investment like college, most families, they go it alone. Now, if you're willing to become an expert, you can. There's tons of information out there. But remember, you would be practicing on your own finances, and mistakes can be expensive, so a trusted professional can help you have the best possible outcomes. So you want to make sure that you're filing because schools want to see your ability to pay. Okay, they want to know how your full financial picture can impact a lot of the decisions they're going to make for you. They want to attract full pay families, so they want to see if you can pay. They're going to actively recruit higher income families, offer tuition discounts. They're going to, support. They're going to look at this as ways to support, fundraising, athletics, campus programs that can help get you in. They want to make sure that you're going to create leverage. The highly desirable colleges are going to look for high income families. That's going to have negotiating power, and submitting those forms positions you to compete for the best possible offers to secure that commitment. Those forms are going to unlock merit aid, give you the best deal, and ultimately at the bottom line, filing FAFSA isn't just about qualifying for need-based aid. It is going to get you merit. And I just wanted to give you a slide here that breaks it down a little bit more. Across the top, you're going to see how colleges assess a family's ability to pay. Then on the side, it's going to see where the student ranks within that admitted pool. The best offers for the families or for the students that are in the highest rank, they're going to get merit aid or grants regardless of what the family can afford. But if you look at the bottom rows, families with lower ranked students get stuck paying full price or being gapped, meaning they don't cover full financial need. This is exactly why understanding your finances, your student positioning, and how colleges award aid is so critical. Being strategic with applications of financial planning dramatically change your out-of-pocket costs. And while they want to see your full financial picture, that doesn't mean you need to show them everything. The key is knowing what's required and what isn't. This chart I said I would mention, what breaks it down. These are assets that financial aid formulas count. So they count cash, savings bonds, they count investments, which includes 529 plans. Some schools count annuities, some schools count home equity. Almost no school counts life insurance and your retirement accounts. But only one of those two things can provide access to capital to help pay for college. Not saying that it's the only way, but keep in mind your retirement accounts often aren't going to be available to help you here. Even though they don't show and create more cost to you, they aren't really available as an option to pay for college in most circumstances. And before we go any further, I'm going to share something most advisors will never tell you. There's a lot happening behind the scenes of both admissions and financial aid process families aren't aware of. Missing these key details can cost you thousands of dollars, and understanding how the system really works is your first step to protect you from overpaying. It is overwhelming. By junior year, you're going to enter the daunting world of college admissions, a process packed with critical steps. You need to be able to identify the right colleges, navigate applications, financial aid forms, compare offers, negotiate, make final decisions, accept awards, plan for remaining costs. Every stage has its challenges, stress, uncertainty, and expensive pitfalls. Here's the truth. Mistakes at any step can cost you thousands of dollars. So what exactly are families of smart money doing differently? They've unlocked what we call the secrets of smart money families. Okay. It's a proven approach that helps them send their kids to school without draining savings, jeopardizing retirement, and taking on crushing debt. The secrets are not overly complicated, but they are intentional. Once you know them, you'll never look at paying for college the same way again. So before we move on, I'm going to ask you a question. When you think about paying for college, do you ever wonder if you're walking into a system that's quietly designed to drain your family's wealth, little by little, forcing you to make impossible trade-offs between your child's dreams and your future? A lot of people feel that way, and it doesn't have to be that way. What if there was a different path, one used by families to manage to send their kids to school and protect lifestyle and retirement? We call these smart money families, and what they're doing is simple. It begins with understanding a few secrets most families are never told. Here's the truth. Families who win this game do it by finding the cheapest college they don't find it by finding the cheapest college or maximizing student loans. They use intentional strategies to manage cash flow, protect assets, and optimize financial positioning. This is where the real advantage happens. Understanding what we call the circle wealth and applying what's called smart money secrets. And we're going to dive into the first one. Here's the truth. College will be more expensive than you think or plan. Unless you're willing to get really creative and starting in a community college and transferring or uncovering hidden gems, from schools with merit aid. And let's be honest, enticing your teenager of that plan to go to a school they've never heard of somewhere in the middle of nowhere is no small task. Most families are facing college costs about $30,000 a year or more. That's over $2,500 a month in new cash flow on top of everything else you're already managing. And this is where how you pay matters, because it's not just finding a lower sticker price. You can only get it so low. Without career strategic cash flow plan, college doesn't just become expensive. It becomes disruptive, potentially draining savings, lifestyle, and long-term financial future. Secret number 2, you have more money than you think, but you're losing it. This picture here is what we call the personal economic model. Think of it like this. Income is constantly flowing through the pipes of your financial life. And just like a bucket of water, if there are holes, what we call leaks, your money is going to drain out before it ever reaches your goals. And here's the problem. Most families have no idea where these leaks are happening. They're losing money unknowingly and necessarily on things like taxes, interest on debt, poor cash flow management, insufficient saving strategies, how they pay for college, how they pay for their mortgage, how they save for retirement. So when it's time to cover these costs, they're not just pulling from savings, they're draining even more from a system that's already leaking. That's why smart money families focus on plugging those leaks first. If you control the flow of dollars and eliminate inefficiencies, they free up cash for college without sacrificing your lifestyle or your retirement or future goals. And the best part, once those leaks are sealed, the money you were losing can now be redirected to those goals more efficiently, like paying for college, keeping your financial house intact. The chart here shows the common areas where families unknowingly transfer wealth away, money that could otherwise stay working for you, mortgages and mortgage insurance, taxes, protection costs like insurance policies, inefficient, overpriced, college funding, overspending on education or taking on necessary debt, or major purchases like cars, credit cards, other large expenses that erode cash flow through high interest or poor financing decisions. Also, how they are saving into qualified plans or how they're paying for debt. Smart money families do this differently. They identify those wealth transfers. They reduce them whenever possible, or they eliminate them altogether. And here's why this matters. every dollar you stop losing of these transfers is a dollar you can redirect to college, retirement, or other goals without needing to save more or take on more risk. This is the foundation of real financial efficiency and keeping your wealth working for you. The next secret, you don't actually pay for anything today, but you will tomorrow. Well, what do I mean by this? Well, I mean that your employer gives you income, and that income pays for your lifestyle. But eventually that income stops. And then every expense from groceries to healthcare to helping your kids has to come from what you've saved. So without plugging those wealth leaks now, most families won't have enough. That's why smart families build systems today to take care of tomorrow. The goal, to make sure you'll never have to choose between your child's dreams and your own. So ultimately, everything every month is paid for by somebody else. So think of your financial income like this lifetime capital tank over here, this lifetime income tank. Right now, most of us, the employer business is filling this tank. They're the source of lifestyle today. They pay for your mortgage, they pay for expenses, your savings, insurance, taxes, and now potentially college costs. But here's the thing. What if that income, while that income keeps flowing in, everything seems manageable? But if you're not careful about the money that flows in and you're not actively plugging the leaks, taxes, interest, inefficient spending, rising college, you risk draining it faster than you can refill it. And here's the reality for most families. At some point, that employer business income is going to stop. And when it does, the tank needs to keep you going for the rest of your life, funding not only current expenses, but also retirement, healthcare, legacy. Smart money families take action now, while the tank is being filled to manage cash flow, seal up leaks, protect the future. Because the goal isn't just getting your kids through college, it's doing so without draining the tank and jeopardizing your financial future. This is the moment where the paychecks stop flowing. You've retired, or you've sold your business, or maybe there's an unexpected life event. Whatever the reason, that income that's filling the tank, funding everything, is gone. The expenses, they don't. Mortgage, taxes, healthcare, college payments, if you're still helping, everyday living. This is where families get in trouble. If you haven't managed the leaks when the tank was full, then there may not be enough to sustain you when the paychecks stop. Smart money families plan ahead. They don't just plan to how to pay to college. They plan to keep that financial house intact when the income stops, making sure retirement stays secure and lifestyle is protected. And how do they do this? Well, it starts by having a plan, a roadmap to track no matter what obstacles come up. Think of it like a road trip. When you head out on a cross-country drive, without knowing destination, how much gas you'll need, or where you're supposed to arrive, of course you wouldn't. Finances work the same way. This is why you need a financial GPS, something that guides you, keeps you on track. And before we hand over another dollar to college, wouldn't it make sense to stop and answer the 4 most important questions most families have never been asked? But once they get the answers, it changes everything. So if you go across this country and you look at these questions, if you want to know the answers to them with confidence, you're in the right place. That's exactly why we're here. Okay, the first is, do you know the rate of return you need to earn on savings investment dollars? And this might be for college, to be able to retire or pay for something like college at your current standard of living you enjoy today and have enough to last through life expectancy. This is like the speed in which you travel to arrive on time at your desired location. The higher the return required, the less likely you'll be able to stay on that course. The second is, do you know how much you need to save on a monthly or an annual basis to be able to save for something like college or retire at the same standard of living you enjoy today, to have enough money to last throughout your life expectancy adjusted for inflation? This amount to save is like the cost of fuel or the amount of money you need to set aside in your working years to cover the cost of the trip. Do you want to know? The third is, when are you going to retire, or when do you need that money for things like college? When to retire is similar to when you're going to need access to the money to start paying for things. And it's like the estimated time of arrival when you can retire or live at your desired standard of living, adjusted for inflation through life expectancy. Again, do you want to know? And the fourth is the most sombering. It's the reality for many. If you don't do anything different than you're doing now, do you know how much you're going to need to reduce what you can offer for college or your standard of living in retirement to keep it from running out? What does this mean? This means you have to reroute your trip. It's how much you can spend on an annual basis to have your money not run out and last for life expectancy. These questions are critical. And we answer them for every family. And you need to know those now. And as I said before, it's personal. Okay. You've heard my story. You've heard my father, my sister, my journey. It isn't just us. I've seen what happens to families when they plan well. And I've also seen what happens when life throws an unexpected curveball their way. In just the last year, 4 families we've worked with lost a parent right before or just as college started, or lost a job. In fact, one of them died just last week. Some of them are okay because they had a plan. Others, they're still struggling. And it's not just about the dollars, it's about peace of mind. It's about protecting your child's future. It's about ensuring your family's lifestyle doesn't have to suffer because it took an unexpected turn. And this is why it matters so much. The certainty of uncertainty is real. Planning for it is how we protect what matters most. So after all of that, you might be wondering, what should we do? How do we avoid mistakes? How do we plug the leaks? What about overwhelming costs? Here's the truth. For many families, this process is incredibly overwhelming. It's not just because they aren't willing to do the work. It's because no one has ever shown them the full picture. The cost of not knowing, that's real. The lack of knowledge, the small mistakes, the missed opportunities can quietly cost you thousands or tens of thousands. They can add up to hundreds of thousands out of pocket. And it happens all the time. Choosing the wrong school or curriculum, missing out on aid or discounts because of avoidable mistakes, or scrambling to cover shortfalls with loans or savings because you thought you were protected. But here's the good news. Once you have the right strategy, you can confidently navigate this entire process, protect your child's education and your financial future. So what should you do next? We've covered a lot of information on how the system works, common mistakes, hidden leaks quietly draining your wealth. But now it's about taking action. And here's exactly where the smart money families start. First, get your student aid index. This is like, as I said before, the credit score before applying for a loan. You would never apply blind, I hope. But shouldn't you plan for college without knowing this number? Absolutely not. Get that estimate. There's many ways to get it, but we can help with that because there's a lot of calculators out there that will give you a wrong estimate because they don't ask the right questions. What's the second? Well, answer those 4 most important questions. They are the foundation of your plan. They will tell you if you're truly prepared and put you in a position of taking control of your money now and making very smart decisions going forward. Next, get your financial GPS report. This uncovers hidden wealth transfers. It optimizes cash flow. It'll show you exactly where the money is slipping away and how to fix it. And then when it comes to college, most importantly, on top of all that, avoid the 10 critical mistakes we covered earlier. Because those mistakes, they don't just cost you time and stress. They're going to cost your family thousands of dollars in unnecessary college expenses. Here's a hint. This is exactly what we do to help families every single day. And at the end of the day, families that come out ahead aren't just the ones that want to fill out the forms and hope for the best. They want to become savvy, informed buyers of college education. And they want to do this through a combination of 2 elements. Strategic planning, the full picture, understanding how every decision is going to impact your financial health, and tactical planning, taking the right steps at the right time to build smart admission strategies, complete those forms correctly, explore the funding options, and manage cash flow to cover remaining costs. It's not one or the other. Focusing on one creates collateral damage impact to other areas. It's both strategy and tactics working together that gives families the power to make the best decisions and protect the financial future while sending their kids to school they love. During a free consultation, okay, imagine having a total confidence you're making the best decisions, not just for their future, but your financial future. That's exactly what the free consultations covers. First of all, we're going to talk about your student. We're going to know who they are, strengths, dreams, what makes them unique. Why? Because no 2 students are the same, and your plan should reflect that. Goals and obstacles. What matters most to your family? What concerns you have, hurdles you're facing, align strategies to overcome them. Identify where you are now, whether you're just getting started or deep in the process, assess the current position, map out best steps. Because our goal is very, very simple. Okay? It is at Mergent College Advisors to believe that you deserve 100% certainty and confidence in your college plan and your financial future. That we've created a proprietary complete college solution a system to help you families send their child to the college of their choice without overwhelming, without financial stress, without mountains of debt. We're here to get you the best possible outcomes that will allow your student to have their success and your long-term financial goals. College planning doesn't have to feel impossible. It might right now. But with the right guidance, you can make smart, informed decisions, protect your future, give your child the opportunities they deserve. And taking that first step towards peace of mind is critical. So schedule a free consultation and let's create the clear, confident plan, answer the 4 questions, look at where you are on your financial GPS and map that out and stop those mistakes, figure out your SAI, and have a plan for your students' bright future. Because the costs of waiting, well, fewer college choices, reduced strategies, less available for retirement, stress. There's so many different things that can go wrong if you wait or don't have the right plan in place. And of course, you want your child to be independent, happy, and successful. Okay, many families might quietly worry, what if they don't get in the right college? Will it affect their future? How are we supposed to pay for all this without sacrificing our own? That pressure is real. You may have even said to your child, you work hard, we'll figure it out how to pay for it. But the true costs of college come down to focus. And ultimately, the true cost of college will eventually come into focus, and that promise is going to feel heavier. You want to keep your word, but you want to do so without risking your retirement or financial security. And here's what we've learned after working with hundreds of families. And every question about admissions and aid is a parent simply looking for help. Help to protect savings, secure their child's future, make smart, informed decisions without overwhelming. And that's exactly what we're here to provide. Guide you through a complex journey to fulfill the promises to your child while safeguarding your family's financial future. So, for everybody who wants to talk to us, who reaches out, we are offering, first of all, that free personalized student aid index calculation, a full GPS report. That takes about 25 minutes. We might be able to get that in the first conversation. Oftentimes, it'll be a second one mapped out. But also, we're going to give you the 100 questions to ask on a campus tour, because here's the thing. I've been on these tours. Some of you have. The smartest families ask the best questions. Sometimes there's not that many people that ask questions. We want you to be the smartest family in the room. So here's what, important. We want to schedule your free consultation. Ideally, both parents, if you're married, must attend the meeting. It's important to be able to understand the dynamics of what both parents want. And I get new information from each parent. We want to make sure that whatever plan is in place fits what's best for both of you. Our sincere hope is to help families like you avoid the financial minefield and protect your future and give children the opportunities they deserve without sacrificing the life you've worked so hard to build. Your future deserves the best, and the best planning starts today. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope I've answered a lot of questions. I'm sure I've raised a few more, and I would love to open it up now to any questions that you might have. Feel free to put those into the Q&A. I see 1 or 2 there. We'll go ahead and get it taken care of. I did see one question, by the way. Can we get presentation slides? We don't send out the slides. We're changing them all the time. But what we do is you will get a copy of our presentation on video that you'll be able to get. So we can reach out to us and we'll get you a copy of this entire presentation today for you to be able to review again. Great question. How do you find out where your child ranks? That is an excellent question, Mark. This is a little bit more challenging to do, and this is one thing that we can certainly help with families to do. So there is the Department of Education has a massive database. They put through, I'm not going to get into the weeds there, it's something called IPEDS. All schools publish information through there, and what they will do is that they will publish what the school's average students coming in are is generally being ranked in average. Now, for your own student, that is going to be something you're going to want to check with the high school. And then if you're homeschooled, that information, if you're homeschooled, you have to go through a proxy, so that the state gets information. That's going to obviously no ranking because you are homeschooled. But if it's through a school and your school does ranking, not all schools do this at this point, What they're going to do is they're going to give you, they're going to be able through the school administration, the school office, be able to give you a transcript that has school ranking, GPA, SAT, ACT scores, all of that stuff that you've gone through. Then through this information that is housed through the Department of Education, you can actually get information that schools have published about what those averages are, and you can compare what your students' SAT, GPA scores are compared to those schools. As I said, it's not as easy to find. The IPEDS database is extremely cumbersome. We actually can help pull reports on that. We have databases, software, and information where we can pull up any school that you would be looking at and tell you right then and there what that school's average numbers are. And then we can talk about your student, where they rank, and put that together and give you that comparison. So that is something we help families with. Question on asset classification for FAFSA again. Yes, I can simplify this down. Basically, any asset you have that is taxable on a regular basis, so that would be like savings accounts, brokerage accounts that are not retirement based, those are going to be assets that you have to count. If it is an investment or cash, again, same thing, it's still a taxable account. So those were two different categories, but they lump into the same thing. Now, 529s are not taxable as you go. They're actually tax-free for college, but because they are college accounts, schools absolutely want to see them. It is reportable because that is an account that is intended and dedicated to college. So by saving more ahead of time into it, you're actually telling them, I already have that money, I don't need help. Now, I will say, the weighting of these assets is a lot lower than income. So for some families, where you have your money is not going to matter. For other families, it's going to matter a lot. This is why a personalized assessment really makes sense, because if you have a high income, you may not, have an impact from the assets anyway, because your income may already lower your qualification for need-based student aid before the assets come into play. But I do have a lot of families that have a lot of assets, but don't necessarily have a lot of income. And it's critical at that point that they know it, because there are things that could potentially be done if that's important to them. The next thing we looked at, of course, was cash value life insurance. If you have that, that is not countable under any schools. Annuities are countable for, annuities are countable for these private schools that use the CSS profile, but not for public schools. And then home equity is also countable for many of those private schools, but not all of them count it. They look at it, you have to report it, but different schools, and that's why, again, the database and the research matters. Some school, you could put two private schools together that both use the CSS profile. One school may count your mortgage, the other may not. And that's where the research and data comes to play in that. So that's the general asset classifications there. Oh, I apologize, I forgot retirement accounts. Most schools don't count retirement accounts at all, although there are a handful of schools, usually your most prestigious schools, that kind of have their own proprietary forms, and they do ask for the kitchen sink. And they will, in some cases, those schools will ask for retirement accounts, and they will count them. So I hope that answers that. I hope that answers that question for you. If you have any more on that, please feel free to post. Do you offer consultations in Spanish in case one of the parents is not fully fluent in English? Unfortunately, I do not speak Spanish. We do have we do have an employee that works for us that does speak Spanish, but is not one of our college consultants. So there may be some language limitations there for us with regards to Spanish. I apologize. But if you do have someone who does speak English that can translate, say one parent speaks fluent English, the other one does not, we can definitely work with that. And we've done that on a number of occasions. Javier asks, what qualifies a high income? I wish I could give you a number. Again, because every school rates the amount of money they give differently. So if you were to look at one school, they may look and give 100% need met. They may have a very high cost of attendance. And therefore, they are going to, someone with a higher income in the 200s, even 300,000s, may still qualify for need-based aid at those schools. Another school may have a lower cost of attendance, may give very poor need-based aid, and someone who makes even $100,000 or even less than that may not even qualify for income-based, need-based aid at those schools. So unfortunately, I wish I could just give you a number that qualifies for. It is extremely fluid and it is different based on the schools you're looking for. But we start by what we can do is we can start with the SAI calculation, and then from there, we can actually use that as a basis to determine what schools you may want to look at. So great questions. That is the extent of the questions that I see right now, but I am more than happy to stay on for a second here and look for any others. But in the meantime, if for those of you that need to get going, because I know that everybody is busy. Oh, I did see another one coming through the chat. Let me address that. My child is in 11th grade. Is it too late to move some savings to a Roth IRA? Absolutely is not. As a matter of fact, with preparing for the SAI, you will have to officially file for the SAI starting as early as October of the student's senior year. When you file that, now that can be fluid because the Department of Education has been changing the time. They've been changing things. So like this year, last year, they were revising the rules around it. So they moved it into December and January. This year, they redid the software for FAFSA where you file. So they moved it to December. Generally, it opens October 1st. So when it comes to filing FAFSA, they're going to look at income for the previous 2 years. So that one's a little hard to adjust because once you filed your tax return for the year before and the year before that, that's already in the IRS system and they pull automatically. Assets, though, are reported at the time of filing, which means that there is time to make strategic asset moves if it makes sense, all the way up to the time of filing. And in some circumstances, may even report something that, not report something that exists if that's an asset that isn't going to be there by the time they go to college. So, for example, I've had clients who sold a house and they were sitting on $300,000, $400,000 in cash because they were waiting for their next house to be built. Technically, the rule of the law would say that $400,000 needs to be reported, but we knew the new house was going to be built in January, and all that money was going to be used to pay for the new house. So they didn't report that because it was going to be gone. So it's a great question, Christine. Absolutely not too late. Assets, we have a lot more flexibility around. So great question on that. Thank you very much for asking. And this is where we look at things individually. So I do see that looks like we don't have any more questions coming in. Can you do me a favor? Raise your hand. Has this shown you something today that you didn't know before? Hopefully, we're going to see hands up for everybody. Great. That's what we're trying. As I said, my promise is some of you are going to hear things you've heard before. Some of you are going to hear all things you've never heard before. But hopefully everybody is going to hear at least something, especially on the financial side. So thank you very much for that feedback. We appreciate it. And again, we are open to more feedback. If you want to send us comments, if you want to suggest anything, that would be great, especially when we're having a talk. But you can see on screen how to schedule with us. You can see that you can get a free college report with your SAI. You can fill that out. We have a QR code and mergentcollegeadvisors.com/college report. And also you can see on here how to get with us for the consultation on that SAI or any other questions for that first conversation. That also has a QR on screen. Again, you're going to get this. You can take a picture with your camera, but we'll also be reaching out to you to follow up to schedule that as well. So we appreciate everybody for joining today. And since I don't see any other questions, wherever you are, wherever you may be, thank you so much for joining us. Wish you all the best, both in your child's future as well as your financial future. And for those that we are going to be talking to, we look forward to that conversation. Have a great night.